All right. Yeah. Welcome to 805 Sports Talk. I'm Joe Bailey. Alongside me is Elliott Stern, our sports editor, and this is our 29th show, so thank you guys for tuning in. And this week our lead story is from correspondent Brian Stanley, and he caught up with the undefeated in the LPL Orcutt Academy girls tennis team. They're on a roll, and they've just been rolling through the Los Padres League this year, so Brian Stanley caught up with them, and we'll see if they can keep it going throughout the season.
Known for being competitive in doubles, Orcutt Academy's girls tennis coach Art Lopez says Amanda Shawn and Megan Vise are changing the face of singles action for the Spartans.
We've never had singles players that can dominate a match like Amanda and Megan have been this year. So that has really made our team a lot stronger.
Overcoming a knee injury 2 years ago, Shawn returned to action last season playing doubles.
Well, I came back last season and I played doubles the whole season with the exception of like 2 matches. I went in and played singles because my knee couldn't handle the singles yet. And then this year during the summer I practiced really hard, and then I'm back to singles, which is really cool.
Moving into the number 1 single spot for Orcutt Academy this season, Shawn is 27-10 overall with 20 wins and 3 losses in the Los Padres League.
Amanda's always had a lot of drive, and she's one of our very just level-headed, consistent players of staying very neutral, win or loss. And I think that's one of her greatest attributes, is to be able to come off of a hard loss. She's maybe bummed about it for a minute, and she moves on and is able to go on and get the next set.
Putting her own mark in the singles action for the Spartans, Vise is 25-6 with 20 wins and 3 losses in league play as a sophomore.
Now, we've always had good doubles teams, and now with somebody like with Megan joining us and a singles player and being as young as she is, she's only a sophomore. I truly believe that she can dominate this league for the next couple of years if she sticks with it.
Being previously ranked by the United States Tennis Association, Vise returned to action this season after a 3-year hiatus from tennis.
Well, first I played volleyball, and I didn't really enjoy that, so I wanted to have something else to do because I wasn't playing the sport at all.
Earlier this season, Vise picked up a big win over defending league champ Mary Kovalovsky of Santa Ynez.
Megan beating Mary, it's not just a crucial point that we get on that set, but there's something that it does psychologically to the rest of our teams. Our doubles teams, it trickles down once they see that. They see her kind of slaying that Goliath, if you want to say, and doing it 6-0 on top of it all. And suddenly we have doubles players and singles players maybe winning when they maybe wouldn't have, because it gives them a little boost of confidence. And
with Orcutt Academy clinching a CIF Southern Section playoff berth with an 18-0 win over Santa Maria on Tuesday, Shawn as a senior and Vise have the postseason to look forward to.
I'm really proud. Tara and I are really happy to have her on their team. They're fantastic young ladies. They really blended in with the rest of the girls. They're good team players. They're willing to help their teammates. They're good students. Both are straight A's as the rest of my team is. So yes, I mean they're just great to have around.
Now we go from one undefeated team to another undefeated team, and that's Santa Ynez, and they've just been dominating this year. They're 6-0. A couple weeks ago on the show, we talked about Mike McCoy, Santa Ynez's quarterback, but I also caught up with star wide receiver Gabe.
What's Gabe been doing, working with Mike in the passing game?
Is he just the last couple weeks? 2 weeks ago against Santa Maria, he had 14 catches for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then he backs that up last week with 6 catches, 150 yards, and 3 more touchdowns. He also ran a kick 90 yards for a touchdown. So he's just been dominating this year. He has 11 touchdown receptions on the year. He's rushed for 2 more touchdowns on the ground. So I caught up with Gabe, and he kind of walked me through, just what he's been doing this year and how he's been so effective and productive catching the ball for the Pirates this year.
What's Gabe been doing, working with Mike in the passing game? Is he just good at getting open? He can't be covered. What's Gabe been doing out there just to doing so well as a receiver?
Well, I think the first thing is any ball that's a jump ball, Gabe typically gets. He's 6'3", he can jump out of the gym, and he's a super fast kid, and he just kind of has a nose for the ball. Gabe is kind of like is what Michael was last year for us. He's our best receiver. He never leaves the field on defense as the other corner. And him and Mike just have a good rapport together. You could tell in spring and summer that there was something special between those two. They just kind of, Mike knows when Gabe's going to be open.
Coach McClurg also talked about your jump ball skills. Do you think that is one of your highest attributes, is being able to get up for a jump ball? Is that what you kind of pin your hat to, is being able to get up for jump balls? How do you feel about going up for that ball and getting it?
Well, I try to jump as high as I can, and I don't know, honestly. I don't think that's my strong point, though. I think I try to use my speed for everything, and that's, I think, is my strong point.
Okay. Anything you think you can get better at as a receiver so far this season? You know, looking at anything on tape, anything that you saw that you're a little bit disappointed in yourself and you know you can get better at?
Yes. I need to work on catching every single ball that comes to me and not just dropping some. And I need to work on blocking downfield better.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I kind of get the perfectionist vibe from you a little bit. How many drops do you have this year? Do you kind of keep a tally of that and make sure you limit them? How do you feel about the drops?
I try not to keep tally of my drops because I like to put that stuff in the past and just move on to the next week.
Are you surprised at how dominant a lot of your guys' wins have been so far?
Well, I don't know, because we're a good group of guys and we all have that bond together that everybody is like a dream team. Like, we all have like good bonds. We know each other. We go to school with each other, and I don't know, we just get along really well, which helps us out a lot.
Okay. How does it feel being you guys are out here in San Ynez on your own? Do you think the team feels like a tighter bond being out here on your own, and you guys are underestimated a little bit? Do you guys kind of feed off that, play with a little extra chip on your shoulder being out here in San Ynez? Yes,
of course. And we use it to our advantage, and we fight and we grind every day. So
I'm sure there's some things that you think you guys can get better at as a team. Where do you think the weaknesses are so far 4 games in that you guys can improve on?
Everybody can improve a little bit on something, whether it comes to catching balls or blocking or making tackles. So I'd say we need to work on a little bit of everything.
Okay. And that LPL season is coming up. You guys haven't played a league game yet, but it's been the last couple of years has been between St. Joe and Lompoc. Do you think you guys are right up there with those teams, St. Joe and Lompoc, and do you expect this team to be competing for an LPL title when everything is said and done?
We're hoping for that, yes.
Okay. All right. Good luck Friday night. Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
The Pirates are now 6-0 in the season, and they play Cabrillo Friday night at Houck Stadium in Lompoc. So we'll see if the Conchs can try to slow down Prendergast and his quarterback McCoy. But another football team that's really been on a roll lately is Arroyo Grande, and the Eagles beat Paso Robles last week, 35-28 at Paso Robles. Elliott Stern, our sports editor, you were there last week and caught a great game and saw the Eagles, keep that win streak going.
It was the league opener for both teams in the Pac-5 football, and it was really, in my mind, the league championship game. Even though the winner would only be 1-0 in the league, I can't see anybody else in the Pac-5 that was going to challenge the winner once they got this game out of the way. If they don't have a letdown, whoever wins should go on and become undefeated and win the league. And it looked early on as though Arroyo Grande was just going to roll past Paso Robles. Now, both teams were 5-1 coming in, but Paso had lost its last game. Arroyo Grande had lost its opening game to Lompoc. Everybody loses to Lompoc around here. But they'd been on a 5-game winning streak, and they looked pretty good. So they went up 21-0 by the middle of the third quarter, and then Paso mounted a comeback. So the score ended up with 1 touchdown was the difference. 2 Noah Thinger interceptions kept Arroyo Grande from losing that game, but it was really close. They opened their first drive of the game, marching down the field. Cameron Johnston had a 2-yard touchdown run. Matt Sills had a 21-yard run on a fly sweep to make for the big play of that drive. The next time they had the ball, James Gilmet, they had a 4th and inches from the Paso 20, and they gave the ball to Gilmet, and he just broke a hole, gone, 20-yard touchdown. Then Paso looked like they were going to move the ball down the field, but that's when Thinger had his first interception. It was at the AG 14 as Paso was showing life. Their offense was finally showing life. They came right back down. Arroyo Grande did, and Cameron Johnston picked up a touchdown on that drive, and they were up 21-0. Again, Paso Robles looked like it was going to move the ball down the field, but a second Thinger interception killed the momentum. But shortly before the half, Paso scored a touchdown. Then early in the third quarter, they scored again. And now we've got a 21-14 game. Then it's back and forth. Arroyo Grande scored twice. It was to bring it up to 35-14. And then Paso kept coming, though. They scored again in the fourth quarter, scored right before the end of the game, had a last gasp chance at an onside kick, and when Arroyo Grande came up with that onside kick, they just needed to take a knee. Paso was out of timeouts, and they went home a winner. So Paso now has to face Atascadero. Well, they both have to face Atascadero, Righetti, and I don't see anybody else being able to beat them in their league. So I'm thinking that was the league championship. Arroyo Grande wins it 1-0. They have a bye this week, and they can just be ready then 2 weeks down the road to pick up their winning streak. So I'm looking at them as the league champion after one win in the league. Paso, I don't see anybody beating them. They're a really good football team. A couple of mistakes by their quarterback getting an interception. Steven Schouten, he was great. Those last two touchdown drives they had, he was unstoppable. He went 6 straight completions on one of them, 8 straight completions on the second one. He showed they could really move the ball down the field, but those 2 timely interceptions by Thinger really kept Paso from being able to win this game. So now we're on to the heart of the Pac-5 season, and I just don't see anybody that's going to be able to stop Arroyo Grande. But everybody's in league now. All 3 of our local leagues are going, and there's some big games that are coming up this week.
Yeah, the LPL season started last week, and I had the chance to see St. Joseph host Cabrillo at J. Will Stadium. And, you know, I wasn't sure what to expect out of that game beforehand, but, you know, Cabrillo turned it over on its first play from scrimmage, of a fumble between Izzy Hernandez, the quarterback, and Cody Perry, the running back. You know, St. Joe's recovered that fumble and scored about 3 plays later, and after that, it was over. The Knights won 50-0, and I thought quarterback Dino Maldonado was just great in that game. If you watched any of that, he was, I think, 15 of 19 for 335 yards, 3 touchdowns. You know, he's been pretty steady all season, but Friday night he really just broke out. He was on point with all his throws, and just those receivers did a really good job of getting open. Trevor Cole is just a youngster. He had a big game. CJ Cole, you know, was staying at running back, and he scored the first 2 touchdowns for the Knights. So they looked really good. They even have Nate Guzman. It hasn't been, you know, they haven't had to rely on him, I guess, but he's still, you know, just a huge threat. Justin Wong out there is also a big playmaker, and then of course Mason Bealey, really solid receiving core, and those guys were open all night. Cabrillo had no chance of covering those guys, and Dino Maldonado, the quarterback, did just a great job of connecting and finding those guys. It was probably his best game of the season. So if he can really get it going down the stretch, you know, look out for St. Joseph, and that's going to be our TV game of the week, Friday night. The Knights play at Pioneer Valley. And it was just a pretty disappointing performance from Pioneer Valley last week. They were down big to Lompoc, 63-0 loss. It was 56-0 before halftime. So we'll be at Pioneer Valley Friday night. We'll see if the Panthers can bounce back and try to keep up with St. Joseph this week, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. You know, we've both seen Pioneer Valley quite a bit this year, so I was kind of surprised that Lompoc was able to put it to them so handily. You know, I expected a Lompoc win, but to be up, you know, almost 60 points before halftime and just cruise to a 63-0 win, I'm not sure I expected that. Elliot, I don't know what your thoughts were from Pioneer Valley last week, and then St. Joseph, you know, just dominating Cabrillo.
Well, it was Lompoc's 5th straight shutout. I mean, that's kind of unheard of on the high school level. And they didn't give up many points in the first 2 games and haven't been scored on since. But I thought Pioneer Valley had enough to at least get on the board. I didn't see it coming in as a big, well, I thought it was going to be a rout, but not as big as they've been. I thought Pioneer Valley would be able to score a couple times the way Arroyo Grande did. So I was surprised that they just couldn't get on the board. I think they'll be able to score this week on St. Joe, but St. Joe, remember, they played a really tough preseason schedule. They played some big schools from the bigger divisions, Notre Dame of Sherman Oaks, and teams like that, and I think that got them ready. That's what they tried to do. Their coach, Dustin Davis, continues the tradition at St. Joe of scheduling tough big school opponents early on so that when they get into the league season, they're really toughened up and seasoned for the league play. And I think St. Joe, even though it's a road game, but it's not that far, and both teams play on artificial surfaces, so it's a very similar field. It's not a real road trip when you consider the distance from St. Joe up to Pioneer Valley is, 8 miles, 9 miles. So I think St. Joe, and they'll have a good crowd too. They travel well when they go in the playoffs. You go down to places like El Segundo or Sarah High School or Oaks Christian, and there's a huge contingent. And just for a local game like this, they'll fill the stands. So they'll have their fans on their side. And they've got some momentum. I think St. Joe and Maldonado's found a rhythm. C.J. Cole is Mr. Everything. He's a running back. He's a wide receiver. He's a kick returner. He's whatever they need him to be. And if they let him loose against Pioneer Valley, I just don't see the Panthers being able to keep up. I think it'll be a closer game. I don't think they're going to lose 63-0, but I don't think they have the horses. Although I really like Pioneer Valley's team, I just don't think they have the horses to beat St. Joe.
Yeah, 2 quick notes on St. Joe. They have 2 straight shutouts. You talked about Lompoc's, long shutout streak, but St. Joe, they've won their last 2 games against SLO and Cabrillo by a combined 91-0. So they're definitely peaking at the right time. And talking to Coach Dustin Davis after their win last week against Cabrillo, he said they don't care what Lompoc did to PV. They don't care about that 63-0 score. They're focused on PV. They respect PV, and they're still not focusing on their last 2 games where they played Lompoc and San Ynez. 2 teams that are, combined 13-0 with Lompoc 7-0 and San Ynez 6-0. They said they're focused on PV this week. They're going to take them seriously, so they're not, thinking ahead at all. And talking about San Ynez, we talked a little bit earlier. The Pirates are playing at Cabrillo. Conks are coming off that tough loss at St. Joe. We'll see if they can bounce back. San Ynez has just been rolling. I don't expect Cabrillo to put up much resistance, against San Ynez. We'll see if the Pirates can finish this season stronger than they did last year. They started out 7-0 last year and then finished 7-3, losing the last 3. I don't see them losing to Pioneer Valley like they did last year, but we'll see what they can do against St. Joseph and Lompoc. Those are going to be the real interesting games, but they do play Cabrillo Friday night, so that comes first before the 2 really big games against St. Joseph and Lompoc. And
I don't see anybody until them getting in their way. Cabrillo, it's a nice team. Up and down season. They've had some turmoil, but San Ynez is also another powerhouse. I think they'll finish stronger than they did last year, but I don't see anybody getting by Lompoc, and I think the San Ynez-St. Joe battle is just going to be brutal, and that'll be a great test for both teams, but I don't see Cabrillo being able to put up much of a fight. They just have too many offensive weapons for the Pirates, I've talked to Prendergast, you've talked to Prendergast and Mike McCoy, and they've just got too many weapons on offense. Their defense is too strong. I think they're just going to roll past Cabrillo. And again, the question is, will Cabrillo be able to score on that defense? That's iffy. That's a big iffy proposition. It's not fun being a Cabrillo player this week. Remember now that San Ynez, in the latest polls, is the number 3 team in their division. It's Division 10, which is everybody's got their divisions now based on strength of schedule and their 2-year game history. So they're a highly regarded team in a smaller division than Lompoc and St. Joe. But I can't see that Cabrillo's going to be able to hang with San Ynez. I think they'll come out with a win, and San Ynez will come out with a win and set themselves up for a couple of big season-ending games. Yeah, we saw Cabrillo resort to the double wingback kind of offense against St. Joseph, and I think they also did that against Morro Bay. So we'll see if the Conks have to do that against San Ynez if they can't get anything going on offense. They also use J.C. Miller at quarterback, and Izzy Hernandez has been the starter most of the season. So we'll keep an eye on that quarterback position and see what Cabrillo does offensively against San Ynez. But another big game last week was Rigetti beating SLO. The Warriors won 27-14, and we saw John Well Larone
actually play at quarterback, and he threw 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions in that game. I didn't know John Well played quarterback. He's a good linebacker, good running back. He's also a really good stud on that baseball team. So he kind of just came out of nowhere and took over the quarterback position for the Warriors last week and threw 3 touchdown passes in that game and helped the Warriors get their first win of the season. And it's a league win, and they beat SLO at home. So that was good to see the Warriors, get some momentum. They play at Atascadero Friday night. That's a tough matchup. I don't know if the Warriors can keep it going, but they do have some momentum. Maybe, they played Atascadero tough in years past. I think they played them real tough last year. So let's see if, the quarterback switch, putting Lerone back there, gives them some momentum, and they picked up their first win. So that's good. So, it's pretty a good week for the Warriors with that win and, playing a big road game in the Pac-5.
Rigetti coach Ed Herman decided that it was time to change things up. What they were doing wasn't working, and this change worked, and it might be the change they needed to put Lerone at quarterback and give him the kind of momentum. Atascadero is a highly regarded team, but they're just not doing as well as I expected they were going to do when this season started. This might be the chance for Rigetti to pull off the win. On the road, though, at Atascadero, that's not going to be an easy task for them to beat them. So this is going to be an even matchup. Rigetti might be able to squeeze out a win. Atascadero might be able to do it. It's a coin flip in my mind. I don't see anybody winning it big. It could be 21-14 either way. But I'm thinking Lerone might be giving them the momentum they need right now to close the season a whole lot stronger than they started it. I'm liking Rigetti right now. I thought that they would win one game this year, and that would be against San Luis Obispo. Those are the 2 bottom teams in the league, and I thought whoever won that game would have 1 win and the other team would have none. But Rigetti now, after making those changes that Ed Herman made, there's a chance that they could sneak out another win here and beat Atascadero on the road. But this could be the closest game of the weekend.
Yeah, and moving to the Northern League, we see Santa Maria is hosting Templeton. The Saints last week lost to Mission Prep by a touchdown at Mission Prep. That was a real tough loss for them. I think they really needed to get rolling in that Northern League to start things off right with the win. They played Mission Prep real tough. They were right there with them. They had a lead for much of the game, and then they ended up losing 28-21. So, the Saints are going to be home this week. They host Templeton. Templeton's been real up and down, mostly down lately. They played Napomo tough for a little bit last week, and then Napomo just ended up blowing them out. So it's another winnable game for Santa Maria. Let's hope, the Saints can get things squared away and play up to their potential. They kind of seem to play down to their opponents and up to their opponents at times. We saw them play Santa Ynez real tough until they lost by 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. They beat Rigetti. They were right there with Pioneer Valley. So, they also lost to Cabrillo, which is not such a bad loss. They lost by a touchdown over there at Houck Stadium. So they host Templeton. That's a Northern League game. So I think the Saints would be favored in that matchup. So let's see what they can do. They really need to get a league win. They still have a chance to finish, maybe top 2 in that league, get a playoff spot. They're 3-4 now, so there's still a whole lot riding on that game. I know these guys want to make the playoffs, and they got to get a win Friday night if they want to make that happen.
Dan Ellington, the coach of Santa Maria, said they could be 1-6 or 6-1. That's how close their games have been. Most of their games have been within a touchdown or 2. They lost one game by giving up 2 late scores, but they've played everybody tough. It's something we haven't seen out of Santa Maria in a long time. And Templeton has been not Templeton. They usually field a really strong team and are regularly favored as one of the teams at the top of the league. But now I think they're ripe for the picking, and Santa Maria is going to be home. They're hungry. They're very excited. They're enthused. They're no hanging their heads even when they lose. They know they're in every game, and it's up to them to find a way to close the game. We saw the pros, the Raiders, were starting to rebuild their team, but they couldn't close the games. And this year they're finally getting to where they're closing games. That's what Santa Maria is trying to do, is to emulate that and close the games. And I think Templeton gives them a prime opportunity to score 3-4 touchdowns, have a shutdown defense, and come away with a win. I think it'll be a big momentum builder for them, not only towards the rest of the season, but as this program progresses next year. So I think this is an important game, and I'm thinking Santa Maria's got it.
Yeah, that's a real big game. It seems like every week the Saints are in a big game. They got another one this week. That's what happens when you're improving your program. Every game is huge, and we see that again. They got to get a win in the Northern League. So we'll see what the Saints can do Friday night. We'll be all over that game and the rest of the games from around the Central Coast. So that's all we got for this week. Make sure to tune in for our game Friday night pregame show at 6:45 p.m. I'll be calling that one at Pioneer Valley. The Knights at the Panthers. That should be a big LPL game. We'll see if the Panthers can bounce back or if the Knights will keep it rolling. So 6:45 p.m. at santamariatimes.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you can't watch the game or be at the game, follow us on Facebook or Twitter. We'll be posting updates all Friday night, and we post updates on all the other sports throughout the week, so be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
And we'll have our staff at many of these games Friday night, so the game stories will also be online Friday night and in Saturday's Santa Maria Times. So make sure you pick up a copy of the paper and read all about it. You'll be able to get all the action online or in print, and not just the high school football, but all the sports as we continue the fall season here at your Santa Maria Times. So thank you for being with us. It's always a pleasure to do this for you, and we'll see you again next week.